I hear the call of the stars.
G'day ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me here today. We're going to be on the new GSL map, Daybreak. I'm sure a lot of you have probably seen this one in the GSL being used, of course, in, I'm pretty sure it's actually in GSTL and normal GSL as well. For Code A and S, but this matchup is going to be a custom game between two of the boys from the Next clan. This is going to be, as many of you should know, my favorite Korean player, NEXSickness, and his opponent up the top right-hand side of Daybreak will be NEXStorm. Now, this particular map has actually generated a lot of really cool games in the GSL. We've seen some really long games, we've seen some great sort of mid-game sort of pushes and that sort of thing, which are really generated by the fact that this map has a decently sort of positioned third. You can take this at a nice timing, or you can go a little bit riskier and come in here, but it does actually have a couple of less mineral patches, not to mention only one gas, so do keep that in mind if you are going to play on this map. The other part of that I really like about this map is the Zolnaga watchtowers are actually nicely positioned here. You get a good view, as we saw that probe had just before. We've also got another one just over here on the opposite side, providing the same sort of detection range. So now we do see that Sickness is coming up here to just scout out what Storm is up to, but Sickness, of course, is, if you've been watching some of the other games that I've cast of this fascinating player, he's done some really cool things. He does some interesting things with Warp Prism sometimes. He also brings out the carriers from time to time as well, and just overall he plays a fantastic macro game, and we've seen that a few times in each of the games that I've casted of this player. So here we have just a little bit of a worker battle at the moment, but Storm, meanwhile, his teammate from Nex is, now just to clarify, Nex is still a part of Zenex, I believe, but obviously they don't have the same clan tag for some weird reason, I don't actually know, but Sickness did get inside and did see that there was no gas, I believe. Let's just have a quick look at what he actually saw. Didn't see the gas on either of those gas geysers. No refinery going down just yet, but he is going to get inside, and he is going to actually see the Marine just popping out now. He's going to check out the gas and just make sure that he knows exactly what his opponent is up to. Sees that there are no gas, in fact, and he's going to be predicting some sort of early expand from the Terran player. So back down at Sickness's base, we've got Storm just scouting around himself. We can see that there is a gate and a second gate going up as well. Cybernetics core is also just about done as well. So standard sort of openings here, although a little bit different to see a player go for a second gate, given that he did actually scout out the fact that Storm was going to go for a quick expand. So a little bit surprising to see that. We may see some sort of early push coming in from Storm. He does have a Stalker being chrono boosted out. Warp gate tech is just starting as well, so we'll see what Storm is going to do. Perhaps he may change up a little bit of what he was going to do with this fast expand, given that he knows now that Sickness is going to go for that quick attack there with the two gates. But Storm, meanwhile, has actually just thrown down an extra 2 racks to make sure he's got enough defensive sort of units there to make sure he can fend off this early attack that is probably inevitably coming, and the bunker has been started at the top of the ramp. So he's just sort of putting himself in a position at the moment where he can defend at the top of the ramp here. Probably going to flick over this command center into the orbital command whilst it's still up here. That's always the best way to do it. And then probably sit back just for the moment, just to see what Sickness is going to do with these two gates that he's chronoed out. But we do have 2 stalkers there. We've got a 3rd and a 4th stalker on the way, so this is actually going to be quite some heavy stalker pressure there. Always a good response to do when your opponent is going to fast expand, is to just see if you can put some stalker pressure on. Of course, there won't be any marauders just in that initial part. Obviously, we can see the tech lab just starting up now, and there will be one eventually, but during this initial part, there's only Marines to defend, and of course, if you've got some good micro, you can actually micro around some stalkers and keep them alive and actually start taking out Marines with some good micro. So we'll see if that is what Sickness is going to do. He does have one stalker just ahead of the pack, which is just going to run up here and probably scout out what is at the top of the ramp. Meanwhile, just noticing that an SCV again has gotten inside Sickness's base and has just poked around, sees the robotics facility is there as well. Meanwhile, the stalker did jump up here, did actually see that the bunker was there, and he's probably going to know that he can't really push too far into this because of that bunker. With the Marines inside with their extra +1 range, they'll start shooting pretty quickly when these stalkers actually get over here. But Sickness, for some reason, thinks that he can take down this supply depot. Not really sure what the point of that is, but he is going to try and put some damage into that. Of course, he, could just be putting some pressure at the front door there of Storm, but Storm meanwhile has decided it is time to move, and look, here we go with some attack. The attack from Storm. He is going to try and put some pressure on. The Marauder gets taken out. A couple of Marines have gone down as well. The Stalkers are going down in great numbers there. As we can see, 2 of the Stalkers are the only thing left over. Running out of shields as well. Got to be really careful with all this. We can see the Marines are just camping out the top of the ramp, and they're going to just keep an eye on those Stalkers and probably don't want to march them into that, and loses another Stalker. The second, probably the 4th Stalker, I suppose you could say, is going to run away, and this guy is going to have to retreat to fight another day. Meanwhile, this is actually put Storm in a decent position at the moment. As we have a quick look at the income tab, we've currently got him just 1 ahead on the Harvesters at the moment. Obviously, he's had the advantage of having the 2nd command center, which is now floating down to the natural, which is giving him a little bit of a boost in terms of getting his SCV production up and running. And now with the switch down of the command center, and in fact with a lot of SCVs just coming down as well, getting both of the refineries, so we are going to see him probably tech up pretty quickly here. We've got a couple of extra add-ons going down for Storm. He's got the reactor there, and the tech labs pumping away on various things. I know it's just a stim for the moment, but +1 weapons is also on the way, so it does look as if he's going to go for some sort of early push at the start here as well, now that he knows his expansion is down and secure, and he is going to have to put some pressure on Sickness. Sickness, meanwhile, has actually switched into, he's grabbed 1 Immortal. He's currently sitting here with this natural expansion up and running, and he's just currently looking to go. He's got the 3rd gate there. The Twilight Council is also done, and here comes the Dark Shrine, so this could get a little bit interesting here once the DTs come out. Meanwhile, just at the front of the base here, Storm has decided to actually take out that destructible debris. Gonna just give himself a little bit more room to move on this ramp here. Of course, the one powerful part of the Protoss defensive posture is that you can put down a couple of force fields, and in this case you only just need 1, but once this has gone down you will need 2, perhaps 3. It's sort of dependent on what you're going to do. But Sickness decides to engage. He is just going to go straight out there, takes out a few of the Marines, losing like 5 force fields. I'm not sure if that was actually worth it at all, but he did capture a couple of those Marines and took them down pretty quickly there, and this is going to give him a little bit more time to actually get some things done. Getting the assimilator here, probably needs the 4th one as well. A warp prism actually floating across the map at the moment. He's probably going to try and warp in some proxy DTs somewhere around the map, or maybe even go for a drop in the back, but we do see that these Marines are actually going to retreat for the time being, so the Bioforce is being pushed back for the moment. He has left 1 Marine sitting here on the watchtower just to keep an eye on what is going on, but this Marine is not going to have long to live. Down he goes, and that, whoop, no he's not. There he goes. Okay, finally being taken out there. The warp prism, meanwhile, just traversing through the map here. He's going to just set up, put down a couple of DTs. Maybe he's going to actually drag them in with the warp prism, or he could just run them straight up into the natural expansion. Not actually too far to go here. To get inside, there is a turret at the front door, which is going to stop those from getting too far inside the base, but the prism is now going to proceed up. He's going to float this in himself and drop the DTs in the front. Does he know that that turret's there? No, he doesn't, but he knows that this base is here. He's going to drop these DTs in. The SCVs retreat straight away. Great reactions there from from Storm, I say. And the DT actually dropping into the main base as well, warping in some more DTs. He's going to try and put a lot of pressure on here, as we can see. He's going to kill some of these SCVs, but meanwhile at the front of the Protoss base, Sickness has got a bit of problem here, because he's only got these few units. A scan did go down. There is 1 DT left over at the moment to try and take out this whole Bioforce. I don't think that 1 DT is going to be enough to do all the damage he needs to straight away. Sickness could actually lose this Nexus here. He's going to lose a lot of probes as well. The probes have not been retreated into the main base. The scan goes down, and there goes the DT. A second DT on the high ground is actually picked off as well. This Bioforce doing a heap of damage with its stim, with its +1. Meanwhile, just back at the Terran base, the DTs have gone to town on all of those SCVs here. In fact, the only SCVs are left down at the natural expansion, and he can't actually get too far in here. So we'll see what those DTs are going to do. A great force field there, blocking off the top of the ramp here. Good job by Sickness just to hold this all together for the moment while he is actually attacking into the Terran base with those DTs. And the DTs are still cracking away at everything that is in here, taking out supply depots, taking out reactors. Going to go for some of these bunkers now as well. Meanwhile, just keep an eye on the supply tab. We've actually got Storm supply capped at the moment here. He's actually in the red, 89 over 78 now. He's losing supply depots very quickly here, as we can see. The Warp Prism now just running through. He's going to try and pick up some of these DTs, maybe try and get away with them if he can. If he can, that'd be actually really good for his position. As we can see, he's actually trying to take the corner base here now that he's actually lost the natural expansion. But 1 DT is going to try and get revenge for everything that was lost here. There were a couple of extra pylons pylons that were taken out by Storm, so he's actually going to have to build a couple more pylons to get his army back in shape. Sickness, meanwhile, let's just have a quick look at the income tab. We've actually got no gas being mined by Storm. He does actually still have a lead with the units, with the harvesters, sorry. He's actually sitting on 45 to the 34 of Sickness. Of course, Sickness did not retreat all of those the probes when the attack came into the natural expansion. And the DTs are almost dead. We've got one more left. He's just sitting over here on this Rax, and the Rax is probably going to stay alive for the moment here. Marauder's picking up that DT and taking care of that. So we're sort of sitting at an interesting position here in this game now, with both of these players having to contend with an interesting little position where they actually had to defend both of their bases there. And you could say that Storm actually did come out on top there. He's currently sitting at 99 supply to 60 of Sickness. But Sickness, once he gets this base up and running, he could be in a good spot. He's just going to need to hope that it does not get detected by Storm at all. Probes, for some reason, thinking they can hang on to the watchtower, but they get denied and they have to run up to the top base. The DT, meanwhile, is going to take their place. And just keep an eye on what is going on around the map. So what do you do with Sickness here? Well, he's obviously got that the Nexus going down again at the natural expansion. He's probably going to want to look to get into a position where he can maybe get a couple more drops going, but the Viking, we've got one Viking out now for Storm, so he's going to be well protected against that. One more DT just sitting out the front door here of Storm, and so he should be able to detect when anything is coming along. But sort of, as we said, sitting nice and pretty for Storm at the moment. He's got 4 racks at the main expansion here. He's got the engineering bays ready to roll once the armory is done. That's what I was looking for. And yeah, I think he's just in a really good spot, so we'll see what Sickness can do to come back from this. Some of these units are going to need a heal up once this medevac gets out. In fact, we've got a Raven coming first, just making sure that he actually has some mobile detection. And speaking of detection, the Viking actually floating over the corner base here from Sickness, so that is has now been detected. He's going to have to put some protection up there and see if he can hold that up. But the Marauders and the Marines are going to have to wait a little bit till they get a medevac out. Some of these guys are really hurt, but they will probably go down if you throw a banana peel at them, but we'll see what happens. They've got their upgrades, as we mentioned. They've got 1-1 on their upgrades. They're taking out a DT because they now have that mobile detection with the Raven. But as I said, they're going to have a little bit to contend with, because we're now going into a Zealot Archon mix here from Sickness. I'm a little bit surprised he's going straight for that. He does have the Templar Archives pumping away on Storm. +1 to armor is just about done as well. And as we can see, the forces of Storm are now going to head into this corner base. It's going to be interesting to see if Sickness can hold this. If he doesn't, you could say this is getting close to a bad sort of position for him, considering how far behind he is in the supply. And the Marauder Marine combo is going to stem up. They're going to take a lot of damage from these Zealots. I think those force fields were a little bit too close, but they did get a lot of those forces down. And Storm's going on in the back. They have ripped apart everything, and actually Sickness looks like he's going to hold this. He's going to keep the Nexus, he's going to keep some of these forces here as well, and he is going to be able to hold this for the time being. Raven just sitting out in some weird spot, but the Archon and a couple more units are just going to force away the rest of these forces from Storm, and now these couple of Marauders are probably going to go down right about now. There they go, and the Zealot denies that guy any more pleasure. So that was actually a decent hold there for Sickness. He actually held back, didn't lose as much as he probably could have, but actually with as I said, with keeping the Nexus alive, he's actually in a great position at the moment, currently sitting here on 3 bases. His income is currently at around about 1,200 and the gas at around about 7. Meanwhile, Storm is actually sitting at 59 harvesters, so he is slightly in the lead, of course, and he does have mules, except this mule is actually taking a smoke break here. Look at this guy, he's just hanging out, he's just chilling. But the income is it's still around about even, just mainly because of the mules, and of course because of the simple fact that Storm does not need as much gas, because he's not going with a heavy gas mixture. He's going for this sort of bio mixture. We've even got a few Hellions thrown into the mix now, so we'll see if those can actually cause some damage. Perhaps some drops would be good for him to do. But as I said, Storm's still in an okay position. It's sort of evened up a bit now that Sickness has kept that 3rd base, so we'll see if Storm is going to try some drops. As I said, we may see some Hellion drops. We actually have 4 Marauders that are now going to proceed up to the top side of the map. Now we do actually have some defenses though. There is a Templar, there are a couple of cannons. It's not going to be enough to defend the back side here, but it should be enough to hold off any attacks on the front, and it looks as if Storm is going to do a multi-pronged attack here. He's got some Hellions that are sitting in a very mysterious spot, just probably waiting to see if he can actually set up some attacks here. But the planetary fortress is now done, ready to rumble with anything that tries to drop into that base there. Speaking of dropping in, here comes the medevac with those 4 Marauders in sight. Cannons are going to have something to say about that. The Marauders, of course, will do extra damage to that building there, so they should be able to take that out pretty quickly. But the Marauders actually going, one of them goes down, and now the Templar is going to have to do something, but it looks as if we actually have the Zealots being warped in here, and here comes that Hellion attack. They did actually bust through the front somehow. Templar coming in to give the don't argue to those Hellions, and they go down, not actually getting too much done. In fact, both of those attacks not really getting anything done at all for Storm. He did take out 2 of the cannons, maybe took out 1 of the extra units that were there as well, but what this has done is given him a little bit of time. He's actually starting to build up this 4th command center there, probably going to look to try and take this base down in the corner as well if he can. Puts him in a good spot, of course. It makes it easy to defend as well. What I would like to see perhaps is for him to take this base as well. He could just double expand at the moment, but he's starting to probably get a little bit behind, given that he is starting to actually lose some of these various drops that he's doing. Sickness, for some reason, not actually caring about these probes. They're just going to hang around the minerals as well, like that their friend Mr. Mule, who was on the smoke break. But Storm is doing a fantastic job, considering the sorts of losses that he's had with both of those attacks. And now, with Ghosts in the mixture, he'll be able to put down some EMPs, of course, which will help a great amount against all of these Archons that are in the mix now, along with the High Templar that are here as well. What I'm waiting for from Sickness is actually the... Nope, he's actually getting a second. He's grabbing 2 Robos, so now he's got 2. Got the Robotics Bay up and running as well, getting the extended thermal lance, pumping out a couple of Colossi. Good switch there from Sickness, and in fact, chronoing along on his upgrades there. He's getting +2 to armor, just about done. The +2 to weapon, sorry, is just about done as well. Meanwhile, looking at the upgrades for Storm, he's just about got his +3 and 3 for both armor and weapons there. They're around about halfway done. They should be coming along soon, and once that comes into effect, he will actually be sitting in a really decent spot. So we'll see what he actually gets up to, given that the Protoss is now on 4 bases, as we can see here, finally picking up those probes that were on a smoke break. But Sickness is going to be in a decent spot once these Colossi start coming out, because Storm is actually going to have to get out some more Vikings. You're obviously not going to be able to do much against those Colossi with just this Bioforce, so the Ghost can help with a little bit of shield damage there from the EMP, but it's just not enough when you have a lot of Colossi being pumped out, especially considering it's double Robos. So the positioning a little bit interesting for these guys. The Zealot just camping out here at the potential 5th base there for Storm, and actually just getting outside the range of the sensor tower, so good job there by Sickness to be on the ball with that. But now he's going to have to contend with a couple of these units pumping in through the top side. They're going to try and find that Zealot. I don't think they're actually... Nope, they do see it, but he's not actually going to go for it. Perhaps didn't actually see it when he was moving around, but now a scan going down, just checking out what is happening here at the 5th base of Sickness. Sickness is going to have a little bit of trouble on his hands. All of those units were grouped up, and now we can see that the sentries are actually still okay. There's still a little bit of energy left over. Surprised he hasn't actually used the force fields, but brilliant Storms. There are some of those force fields we were talking about. More Storms going down, doing a fantastic job, and the 2 Colossi coming in from the back. They do have the thermal lance, but they're actually getting a little bit close for comfort there to those Bioforces. 1 more Colossi sitting at the back, maybe a little bit of micro, wouldn't go astray there, but he does lose that one. A couple more Templar coming down into the fight. 1 does have enough for a Storm, and he's going to have to storm beautifully, and he does indeed, ripping apart a lot of those units, all of these guys in the red, and they're going to have to run home because they're going to get absolutely slaughtered by these Zealots with their charge. But now a few more Storms coming into effect, some more Archons coming into the mix as well, and that was just a nice engagement by both players. Obviously, Sickness probably came out the better of those, the better of the 2, just because he actually is still keeping this base. That's the good thing he's been doing this whole time, is keeping the bases. But as we can see, Storm has taken this this inner base as well. He's going to switch this one into the planetary fortress. He does have planetaries down here as well, so he's actually got a lot of he actually has a lot less orbital commands than you would normally see You'd generally probably see this one not actually be a planetary, but just rather being safe than sorry there is Storm, so he's going to be okay to defend that particular base for the time being. And of course, once this one gets up and running as well, he'll be in a really good spot. Now, I'm waiting for the Stargate switch from, there it is, he's got the Stargates up and running, and there is the fleet beacon. Sickness bringing in his trademark unit, the Mothership, and I would not be surprised if carriers come through as well. That's just one of his awesome trademarks, as he does these crazy things with carriers and motherships, just bringing them into the fold, and it's just fantastic to see. Command Center trying to land down here at this particular base, not going to have a good time because there is a Nexus being built there, and he is going to spot it, which is going to be really good for Storm. He may be able to get down here and deny it before it gets up and running, but as we can see, Sickness on the ball as always. He's going to run in here with this very, very dangerous DT Archon Templar Zealot mix, and in fact a couple of beautiful feedbacks going down on the Ghost, not giving them the time of day to actually put down an EMP, and now a lot of these units getting ripped apart there. They are being torn to shreds by these DTs and the Colossus at the back. But he is going to have to fall back for just for the moment here. More DTs being warped in as well. Switching in a couple of Archons just to get them into the fight as well. And he's going to have quite a lot for Storm to deal with here, given that this Bio army just has no answer to that powerful mix there. With the Archons at the front tanking damage, you've got DTs invisible unless there's a scan. And of course, we have the power of the Colossus at the back as well. So we'll see if Sickness is going to run away with this victory here. I'm not sure if we're in a winning spot just yet, but he could maybe start pushing in soon, given that he has, as we said, this powerful anti-bio mix. Look at the damage done by the Psionic Shockwave on the Archons. 47 damage against biological units, and that of course does a tiny bit of splash damage as well, so he's going to have a nice little way to win there. And in fact, here comes one carrier. He's got one on the way. He's looking to build a second. There it is. +1 to air weapons is done. As we can see, the Mothership now coming into effect as well. Some of these SCVs, not really sure what the point of that was, perhaps sacrificing some of his economy now that he is in an interesting spot here. Taking, just actually sacrificing all of those SCVs. They're just going to free up some supply here to let him build more and more bio forces, and that is really what he's going to need if he is going to have a chance against this really heavy anti-bio mix here from Sickness. Good job keeping these Templar out of the fight just to make sure they don't get EMP, but let's have a quick look at the economy for all of these bases. Sickness now mined out at the main. He's still going decently, actually. That's quite a nice position at this point of the game at the natural expansion. The third base is also looking quite nice as well, or I suppose this was actually the third base, but this is actually just about done as well. Meanwhile, the inner bases are still going fine. Of course, these have only just been taken. This one with the lower patches is also still all okay. And for Storm, we've actually got his fourth is still going quite nicely as well. The third is just about done. The natural is gone. The main is gone. Obviously, you do find the Terran players mine out a lot faster than Protoss players do, of course, because of the mules. So some Ghosts coming in here, sniping out some of those DTs, doing a good job of that. The Vikings getting a little bit close for those Archons, and they'll have to be very careful here, trying to get the Vikings into a position where they can engage from off to the side, where those Archons can't hit them. A very good tactic there from Storm, but now it does look as if he is going to try and move in here. The Mothership is now coming in as well, along with a couple of carriers, and this is going absolutely insane, missing some of these Storms just purely because they got torn up by the EMPs, and now Vikings and everything trying to fly inside the vortex. This is a safety precaution where you actually use your forces and drop them into the vortex so they don't all die in a singular fashion. But in fact, the DT's now getting into the mix. Storm right on top of all of that. Storms are going off all over the place here. These cloaked units from the Protoss are just doing a fantastic job of ripping apart that Bioforce, and that is going to be the end of that battle for the moment here. The Mothership will just fall back for the moment, regen some of those shields, along with the units on the ground will want to regen some of their shields as well. And obviously we can see that that Sickness is actually doing really nicely with this very cool mix of units that he's pumping out. Got 2 more carriers on the way. I believe we have +2 to air weapons done. Yes, we do. We got +2 to air weapons. Now deciding that his force is not enough. Putting down about 83 billion cannons at this expansion here. Knows that this one is going to be the prime target of Storm, of course, because this is probably the most logical path, is just to come through here, try and deny the newest base possible, because that means that there will be less mining bases, of course, with only this one and the second or third, whichever one you want to call that, along with this one left over for Sickness. So he is going to do a good job there. In fact, we actually have 3 Stargates pumping out carriers. I did not notice that before, but he is, as we said, pumping out this awesome mixture. And when you get to this stage here, and once the carriers get to around about 5 to 6, it can be really hard to stop without just going absolutely nuts on the Vikings. And now, as we can see here, Storm has taken this this inner base as well, dropping down all of the mules that he had available there, so he's not going to be able to scan. Just keep that in mind. If Sickness were to drop in some DTs to say hello at this base, it would not be lasting too long, because all of the scans are gone, I believe. Yeah, actually there's one there. But as we can see, battle cruisers are on the way from Storm. He's got the Yamato cannon upgrade on the way, along with the weapon refit. No, that's the weapon refit. And then you got the behemoth reactor. My bad, I don't actually see battle cruisers that often. But speaking of not seeing things often, as we can see on the supply, on the production tab, sorry, we actually have shields being researched here by the Forge of Sickness, and that's going to give him a little bit of a bonus to all of his units and the structures as well. Gives the buildings a little bit of a bonus, and as we can see, in fact, warping in DTs with morphing the DTs with High Templar to make some the very friendly Archons. And as we can see here, Storm actually going down on his own observer. Unfortunately, did not hit all of those Vikings that he really wanted to, but actually was able to do a little bit of damage. So we'll see if he is going to commence an attack shortly, because once these carries, as we said, sort of when they get to around that 5 or 6 amount, they actually become really hard to stop, especially with their weapon upgrades, and a little bit of micro, of course, does go a long way as well. But Sickness now mining from this inner base a little bit heavier than he was before, of course. The extra bases around to the side are just about done and dusted. As we can see, these ones are almost done as well. Let's see how many battle cruisers are out for Storm. He's got 2 out at the moment. A few of the Vikings are still left alive at the moment here. He's got another battle cruiser on the way, along with a second one. Where's that second one coming from? Not actually sure, but the +3 to weapons, +3 to air weapons. How often do you actually see that? He's just coming through here from Sickness, and he is going to attack here at this base here. We did have an attack from a couple of Zealots here, but also down at this other base. That is going down quick smart, because these DTs have their +3 to weapons as well. And now just finishing off this attack here, actually building in some, warping in some pylons there. Not really sure what the point of that was. Would allow him to actually warp in a lot of units very quickly there, but it looks as if the move is now going from Storm. He's going to try and perhaps push around to that top base. No real point in going there, because that one is actually now out of action, because it's now mined out. But this huge force from Sickness, Mothership, 6 carriers, and we also have 10 Stalkers, 5 Templar, and a couple of Archons and 9 DTs in this mix here, are going to do so much damage when they actually come into the battle here, which is probably going to commence at this particular position, although it'd be a bit unfortunate if Sickness tried to go in here. Look at what we've got. We've got those bunkers with the upgrades, the armor upgrades. They look pretty cool. But we've just got a battle perhaps about to start up here between these two players. This is getting incredibly tense, considering the position they're in. Mothership is taken down from Sickness, so he's actually doing a good job there. Snipes that down. May want to rebuild that one. I think he is actually going to. He's going to rebuild the Mothership there, as we can see on the production tab. Where is it actually going to come from? It's going to come from right about here, right next to the base where he actually lost it. So he's going to warp in that Mothership as soon as he can. We've got +1 to air weapons on the way as well. The +3 to weapons, air weapons is done. +2 to shields is done. There's going to be a huge amount of damage here, as I said, once these carriers are up and running. Now sacrificing some probes to give himself some more supply. Yamato cannons going off everywhere, taking down the shields and some of the health of some of these carriers here, trying to do what he can, but it just looks as if there is so much damage going off here. There are not enough battle cruisers for Storm. He's only got these 3 battle cruisers here. The Vikings are doing a good job of sniping off those interceptors, but once this ground force comes into the mix, it's going to be just way too much for this air army from Storm, sorry. And here we go. He's actually starting it up. We got Bayer flanking in from the right-hand side. Stalkers going underneath those battle cruisers, sniping them out as best as possible. The carriers sitting off to the back, trying to take out what they can. DT's on the ground, doing a lot of damage as well. And the battle cruisers are now dead. The only thing left over are those Vikings from Storm. And I would say that could even be it. He's not going to be able to take out these DTs without sacrificing a scan. And given the position he's in, he really needs those scans, in fact, as the mules, but lifting up those Vikings, and the 60,000 DTs that are now on the ground are going to be doing a heap of damage once he just walks in to this base here of Storm, and he's just going to take down that planetary fortress in around about 5 seconds. Watch this one go down. 4-5, bam, and that is it. That is the game, I would say, because now Sickness is sitting in a fantastic position. 2 more battle cruisers coming out from Storm, but the damage has been done. Trying to replenish with some more bioforces as well. Attempting a long distance mine from this base, and it's just not going to be enough. Probes even coming in here from Sickness. Just a little bit of a told you so, and just trying to take down that command center. They may even get it. No, they won't. Getting very close there. That got down to around about 3 health, and the all these Archons, have a look at that. We actually wow, we've even got more coming in from the side there. They're going to do a whole heap of damage. They are cloaked as well. Look at this. Here we go, and that is that. This is what you see from Storm's perspective. Not too much at all until those Archons came into range of that turret that's just up at that base. But there you go. That is that. All of those Archons now just ripping everything apart. There is just not enough left over for Storm, and do not be surprised if we see a GG in just a moment here. Trying to micro these bioforces over to the side, but they're not actually going to get too far. But that was a fantastic game from both of these players here. We saw some carriers for once, which is just insane. We also saw Mothership and around about 83 Archons, so that was actually pretty cool. Storm doing a valiant job trying to defend all of that time, but it was just not enough. He did actually suffer to that tech switch from Sickness, and there you go. So there's the GG. What a great game between these two players, including my favorite Korean player. So make sure you check out some of the other games that I have on the channel from Sickness. He does a fantastic job every time. Always does these carrier switches, which are just insanely cool. So I hope you guys like that one, and let me know if you want to see some more of Sickness, or if you have some other players you want to see. Let me know, and I'll try and find some replays. Cheers.